goes. At 360 degrees.
Welcome to episode 3 of From Eugene to Tallahassee. I am one of your hosts, Svo. With me is my favorite college football fan, Brewhan Luke. Welcome, Luke. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good, man. Things are good. Had a nice weekend. I'm glad we could talk college football today after seeing our NFL team just do their thing and not have to worry about White Sox baseball. We could just focus on something different, focus on college football, one of our favorite things outside of our other two favorite sports teams.
Absolutely. And it was a good week of college football. We have some cool things going on here. We had some big games. We had some big matchups. You want to just get right into it, Luke?
Let's go. This was a fun weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into our studs and duds. Luke, what do you got for our studs and duds?
I've got one stud. I've got one dud. Man, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but that Missouri kicker, game-winning 61-yarder to win against a ranked, very, very good, ranked and highly respected by me Kansas State team that I thought would have blown them out even if it was at Mizzou. Props to Missouri. Their defense is very good. They've come a long way under Eli Drinkowitz, who was the former Appalachian State head coach, who's now kind of built that program up to what it is.
Yeah.
Then to get that kicker on the line there, 61 yards to say, yeah, he can make this. Like, damn. In a college setting, we all know about the whole story of college kickers, that narrative. And props to him. So he's my stud of the week. I'll let you go into your studs next. I got a dud that I want to talk about in a little bit more detail, but you could go ahead and talk about your studs and duds.
So I have a dud, and I can't remember his name, but he is the player on Tennessee that got kicked off for fighting with Florida at the end of the game. His name was Juwan Mitchell. Oh, no, maybe it wasn't. No, it wasn't him. But he got kicked off for fighting with one of the Florida Gators players at the end of that game, which brings me into another dud that I have, that Tennessee team that absolutely shit the bed against a severely just a shitty Florida team, if you will.
Yeah. That Florida team beating Tennessee looks better for Utah. I will say that now.
It does.
Scheme of things. Yeah,
it absolutely does. It blows up their strength of schedule, and it looks better for Utah now. If Utah can, run the table, which they're not going to because of the conference they play in, it makes it look good for a possible playoff vote when it comes down to that time.
Yeah, that was a big win for Florida and for Utah.
I got another dud. Luke. College football fans for sending death threats to that Colorado State linebacker that hit Travis Hunter. Was it a dirty hit? Yeah. Was it malicious? Probably. There are some things that, like, when you are a program like Colorado that brings on national attention like that, you're going to get the best of everybody, and they're going to be gunning for you. But to call this, 21, 22-year-old kid and tweet at him and threaten his life, It's just not the way to go about it. Like, you and I are a part of White Sox Twitter, and we've seen some dumb fucking shit on White Sox Twitter when it comes to, tweeting at Lucas Giolito's dad, or, like just stupid stuff like that. None of it is called for. You don't need to tweet at players. You don't need to threaten their lives. Like, he didn't want to lacerate Travis Hunter's liver, right? Like,
Yeah.
you don't need to threaten anybody. So, college football fans on Twitter, on social media, you're my dud of the week.
Yeah, that was, I don't remember his name, but he was number 11 on Colorado State. That was a very, very malicious hit, and I still do believe that there was intent there, not intent to, lacerate his kidney like he did, or if that's I don't know if that's the full, I didn't see if that's what it was, but it sounded like that's the rumor out there. But he was playing past the whistle. He knew he was playing past the whistle.
He
100%.
absolutely did.
But while we're on the topic of that Colorado State matchup and duds, can we just touch base briefly on Colorado fans storming the field back-to-back weeks against unranked teams?
Yeah, there's got to be a limit, right? Like, and I love college football traditions, and I love storming the field. And, I grew up in an era where Colorado was a relevant football program. Cordell Stewart, Rashawn Salam, Charles Johnson, Michael Westbrook. And they were gone. They were gone. They were a dead program for a long time. And I get that you're excited about Deion, and I get that there's a lot of hype around this, but you don't need to storm the field after beating an unranked Colorado State team. It's just not necessary.
The first storming the field, I was okay with it because that's an old school traditional rivalry that they're bringing back with Colorado and Nebraska.
That's an old school Big 12 rivalry. I agree.
First home game under Deion, first win at home under Deion. This team won one game last year. Like, these fans deserve to have that moment to storm the field, especially against a rival team like that after such a long drought of so many years of irrelevance in college football. But you don't need to do it back-to-back weeks, man. I get Colorado State is also a rival, but you guys were 19-point favorites or 20-point favorites or something absurd like that. Like,
you beat them in 2 overtimes. You beat them in 2 overtimes. It took you a 98-yard drive as time expired to get to overtime. Storming the field was absolutely unnecessary.
Yeah. If you don't have anybody else, I can go into my main dud that I want to focus on.
What do you got? Go for it, Luke.
Okay. Michigan State and Mel Tucker. I'm
here for this. I am here for this.
I haven't read the full reports on Mel Tucker yet, other than he officially got fired today after being suspended. So it sounded like Michigan State's athletic department did a little bit of research before officially pulling the plug on Mel Tucker. It sounded like there was some inappropriate phone calls or non-consensual phone sex or sexting or something like that.
Luke, I don't know how active you are on TikTok or if you're on TikTok at all.
I am, but I'm not very active.
They pulled the audio from Mel Tucker's phone call. And I'm just going to say it. It's going to get graphic here. So if you have kids in the room, Dougie, I know you're watching at home. Brian, I know you got a dog. I don't want to offend Huck. But Mel Tucker was like, he got on the phone. He's like, I'm lotioning up my dick. I'm beating my dick. My dick is in my hand. It was graphic. It was intense. And they are clowning him with the audio on TikTok.
And this was non-consensual. But according to Mel Tucker and his lawyers, he says that's not the case.
Not only that, but the lady that he sent it to, not that it matters who it was, right? None of that shit matters. It doesn't matter who it is. But she speaks at college campuses on sexual assault and consensual, relationships. And he did this, and she just got done talking with the Michigan State team.
Oh my God.
It's like, he is definitely not just a dud of the week, but maybe a top 5 contender for dud of the season.
And it sounds like there was problems with Mel Tucker before this, based off of the number of student athletes that he had that transferred. Like, they had your boy at Florida State. Keon Coleman at Florida State. Peyton Thorne is the starting quarterback at Auburn. They both transferred after the spring game.
Yeah.
So this is a Mel Tucker problem, and now it's a Michigan State football problem. And I was just pulling up their schedule before we went on the air here because I was curious about the future of Michigan State football this year. I don't think they're going to win a game the rest of the season. This is a one-win team looking at their schedule. I mean, they have so many issues. Now they have a interim head coach. I mean, you look at their schedule. This week you got Maryland. That's a loss.
Yep.
Next week you go to Iowa. That's a loss. Rutgers is currently 3-0. They got to go to Rutgers. What has Michigan State shown that they're better than Rutgers right now? They just lost 41-7 to Washington, a very good Washington team, but it was at home. Put up a fight. Then you've got Michigan. Good luck. Then you got to go to Minnesota. You've got Nebraska. I think Matt Rule can get that team ready to go. Then you go to Ohio State. Indiana could maybe be a win because they're trash. And then you finish the season with Penn State. It's very, very, very realistic that Michigan State will not win a game the rest of the year. They could be a one-win team with a absolute nightmare of a situation. I don't know who they're going to find to be the next head coach of that program. They're in a lot of trouble. They might be this year's version of what Colorado was last year.
Well, you're not wrong. Also, if you look at 24/7 Sports recruiting class, they have 13 commits, 4 4-stars and 3 9-stars. They are the second lowest rated recruiting team in the country right now, in the top 50. Only Syracuse trails them by like a point in the recruiting rankings. You have teams like Kenny Dillingham at Arizona State with a higher ranked recruiting class. You have the Kansas Jayhawks, Wake Forest. You have U of I, Illinois, with a higher ranked class. The Cincinnati Bearcats. You have Vanderbilt. You have Vandy with a higher ranked recruiting class than Michigan State. A Big Ten team.
Yeah.
It's bad. It's bad in East Lansing, and it's not going to get any better.
Yeah, their recruiting classes are going to continue to drop when you get those 4 new teams into the Big Ten next year also.
They're going to go to Michigan. They're going to go to Ohio States. They're going to go to Penn States. Like, they're not going to go to East Lansing. It's bad.
They better find somebody that can be a big-time recruit. Maybe they pay Coach Prime more money than Colorado paid Coach Prime.
Well, and I think that's the thing, right? Like, there's going to be somebody, right? Because what were the talks all off season before Deion ended in Colorado? USF, Auburn was mentioned, right? Like someone's going to offer him some money to go to a bigger school with more resources and more money.
Yeah.
And he's going to take it, which is why this Deion Sanders stuff is really, really good short term for programs, but long term, it's not sustainable.
It's got to be.
That's just my opinion. Like I think Deion's great. He's flashy. He brings cool shit to the programs. It gets people pumped, and they play these teams like fun running gun style offense. But it's not sustainable because he's just going to leave and go to a different program, and that's okay, right?
Yep.
That's what happens with these college. Like Jimbo Fisher left and went to a different program, and you dealt with it with Mario Cristobal, right?
And Willie Taggart.
And well, yeah, Luke, we don't say his name on this podcast. That he is Voldemort's in terms of we do not speak his name on this podcast. For those that are new to the college football game, Willie Taggart was the head coach at Western Kentucky, and then he became an assistant. Was he a defensive assistant or offensive assistant at Oregon? Was he the OC there?
He was the OC. Yeah, he was under Cristobal.
So Willie Taggart was an OC at Oregon, and he had this tagline called Lethal Simplicity. He said it all the time, Lethal Simplicity. So when Jimbo Fisher left Florida State to go to Texas A&M, they called Willie Taggart. Willie Taggart was the hot hire. It was and Luke, stop me when I'm wrong here. He was the hot name that offseason.
Mm-hmm.
And he got to Florida State, and it was a fucking shit show. Kids were unorganized. Kids weren't playing. Kids weren't going to class. It was awful. It was a shit show. So we do not speak Willie Taggart's name on this pod.
Yeah, he set the program that he set the program that he was an alumni of back
No,
a handful of years.
he never went to
because
Florida State.
I thought he was a Florida State alumni. And that's
No,
why he said that was his dream.
He was a Florida native, and his dream
Okay.
school was to be in Tallahassee, but he was not a Florida State alum.
Got it. Okay, so it was just his dream job was Florida State.
It was just
okay.
his dream job, and now he's a running backs coach for the Baltimore Ravens. And oh god,
yeah, because he's got the Harbaugh connection. Because he's a Harbaugh guy. That's the big...
Mike Norvell is still picking up the pieces from the mess Taggart left. So that's our studs and duds of the week. Luke, are you ready to get into the AP Top 25?
Absolutely.
All right. So we're gonna go through our list here. If you're watching the YouTube presentation or you're listening at home, we just have a graphic of the team logo and nothing crazy, nothing chaotic. But we're gonna get to our Associated Press Top 25. So coming in at number 25, we have the Florida Gators. The Florida Gators are coming off a 29-16 upset over Tennessee. I don't know if it was Florida playing good or just Tennessee playing really bad. Graham Mertz didn't look good, but Trevor Etienne had 23 carries for 172 yards and a touchdown. Luke, do you have thoughts on this game?
I didn't get to watch it live because I was at the Sox game. But it seemed like Florida had the right game plan this year to beat Tennessee, knowing that Tennessee's offense has been a little bit of a weakness so far this season, and they knew how to handle it. Credit to them.
I think the loss of Hendon Hooker is hurting a lot more.
Yeah.
Joe Milton, he's going to be good. He's not Hendon Hooker yet.
Our guy Joey P, the resident Tennessee fan of the show.
Yes.
I was
Shout
talking
out
to
Joey
him.
P.
He was at the game on Saturday night, and I was looking at him. I was like, what the fuck's going on? He said there's so much turnover in the coaching staff that is causing a lot of problems with how Tennessee is playing early in the year. And that showed. On Saturday. So
Tennessee looked bad. Yeah, Brian. Brian watched a bit, and he said Tennessee looked shitty. They absolutely did. I'm not sold on this Florida team. I know Billy Napier. I know you want to give him some leeway, but they need quarterback help because Graham Mertz is not the answer for them.
Yeah.
Because he's I know he's a transfer from Wisconsin, but is he a graduate transfer?
I believe it's a fifth year or a grad transfer.
Okay.
It's not like but yeah, they need to recruit guys, and if they're gonna give them NIL money, make sure you have the NIL money. Unlike
because that cost what was it? Dorian I forgot who it was, but he left. He went to UCLA.
Well, you're thinking of Dante Moore, who was Oregon, then went to UCLA. Oregon had the money, but he took the UCLA offer. You're thinking of Jaden Rashada, who's at Arizona
I'm thinking
State.
of Jalen. Yes.
They offered him. He went to Arizona State. They offered him like $5 million in NIL money, and then on signing day, that contract didn't come through with the NIL money, and he was like, so Jaden Rashada was like, and this is a 5-star recruit. He said, where's the NIL deal? And they talked it over, and then Florida's coaching staff and the team was like, oh, we don't fucking have any money for you.
Right.
we don't got shit. So he's like, well, I'm not signing with you guys if you don't have $5 million for me to sign. And then he went over to Arizona State with Kenny Dillingham, and now he's out 4 to 6 weeks with an injury after being the starter as a true freshman. But you know what? Florida, he still gets that money.
Florida's got some help coming in right now. They have the number 3 recruiting class in the country for the 2024 class, 2 5-star recruits, 14 4-star recruits, and 3 5-star recruits, right?
Okay.
And if you guys are looking for a good college football follow when it comes to recruiting on Twitter or X, Bud Elliott.
That's my guy.
Bud Elliott is a Florida State guy. I love him, but that dude covers recruiting really, really well. And if you want to learn about like the blue chip prospect ratio, give Bud Elliott a follow on Twitter, and he'll explain things to you, and you will love it. So it's pretty cool. So yeah, we had Florida with the upset. Trevor Etienne looks good.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good running back. His brother plays for the Jaguars. Let's go to number 24 if you're cool with that, Luke.
Yeah, let's roll.
We have the Iowa Hawkeyes. The Iowa Hawkeyes, they won 41-10 over Western Michigan. There was a lot of defensive touchdowns in that game. There wasn't a big offensive outburst. You're not going to get a lot of that with Iowa. It's going to be slobber knockers like that. Shout out to Beef Loaf in the comments right now.
That's right.
Beef, recover quickly, buddy. We love you. I appreciate you. We're looking forward to having you on Yumper Phone next week. We'll be discussing my other love, movies. Movies and college football are my two favorite things. I don't have a lot about Iowa. Do you, Luke?
I am just on the Brian Ferentz watch all season long with this. I'm getting more and more impressed with Iowa by the weeks. The Sickos Committee, if you don't follow them on Twitter or Instagram, they are one of the finest college football follows because they follow any and every single college football storyline and game, whether it's the best game of the week or the absolute worst game of the week. They put together a Brian Ferentz graphic in a tweet now. It's like remember the mountain climber game from The Price is Right?
I do, yeah.
And it involves the amount of total points that Brian Ferentz and the Iowa offense needs to score for his incentives to be kicking in order for him to basically keep his job. And I got to find it and retweet it. It's fucking hilarious. I'm tuned into the Brian Ferentz watch all season long with Iowa, and they're looking like the best team in the Big Ten West right now, which I did not think was going to be the case preseason. Sure. I thought it was Wisconsin, and Wisconsin is kind of disappointed me so far this season. So
it's early. We're in week 3. We talked last week, and I'm just going to keep bringing it up as we talk about it, but we talked about bucket list like games that we would like to go to, but I would like to see a game in Iowa where they turn to Children's Memorial Hospital.
That'd be awesome.
Because I think that's a cool tradition. So there's my 2 cents on Iowa. If we are talking about Iowa, let's see where they're ranked 31st right now on the 2024 recruiting board, with 4 3-stars or 3 4-stars and 17 3-stars.
Okay.
So definitely not the worst in the Big Ten. That's Michigan State right now. So
they're in a world of trouble.
Let's move on to the next team. We have Tennessee. We already previously discussed Tennessee. They lost to Florida UF 29-16, and they were one of my duds of the week because they got into a physical altercation as the game ended just because they knew that they were going to lose.
They lost to Florida. Why are they ranked ahead? Why are you ranked ahead of Florida when you lost to Florida? That's all
Missouri.
I will say. Like, why are you ranked? Like, that's all. I can't say anything else here.
That's goofy.
Yeah.
That's goofy. Tennessee shit the bed. Sorry, Joey P. What do we got next here? We have the UCLA Bruins. The UCLA Bruins won 59-7 over North Carolina Central. UCLA as a team had 404 rushing yards with 6 rushing touchdowns. Not a great quarterback performance, but an absolutely brutal ground game over a North Carolina Central team.
Yeah, this is going into Pac-12 play now. We'll see how strong the Chip Kelly offense truly will be. Obviously, the running game is their strength, but how far are they going to get with Dante Moore as a true freshman quarterback in this Pac-12? That's going to be the real storyline for UCLA.
That's going to be the test, and their schedule does not get easier. It just gets harder from here on out.
Yep.
All right. Up next, we have the Washington State
Cougs. All right.
The Cougs, the Drew Bledsoe alumni.
Yep.
Washington State won 64-21. Cameron Ward was 20 for 26 with 327 yards and 4 touchdowns. They put up 64 points against a nobody. It is what it is. Washington State, the Cougs.
They got a big game coming this week. We'll get to that.
We'll get to that, absolutely. The Miami Hurricanes, they got a W. They beat Bethune Cookman, so I'm not still super impressed. I know it's Miami, and I know I have some bias. Tyler Van Dyke, 19 for 23, 247 yards and 2 touchdowns. But it's Bethune Cookman, right? Like,
you can't even say their name.
let's see what happens when you get into some conference play. Let's see what happens when you start playing some other opponents. I know you beat A&M, but A&M sucks, so I'm still not impressed and I'm still not sold.
Yeah, this is one of the most intriguing teams for me to pay attention to here the next couple of weeks to really see what they have.
The blue chip prospect ratio with Mario Cristobal is good. The talent is there. They've just never, I don't know, Tyler Van Dyke, he plays really, really well, and then a big game comes up and he shits the bed. So if he can put it together for a whole season without getting hurt, without having that, shit the bed performance, then I'll be sold on Cristobal being the real deal. But until then, I'm not.
Yeah, I'm with you.
The conference runs through Tallahassee and Clemson until it doesn't.
Also, fuck Mario Cristobal.
Well, he might be your Willie Taggart.
There's a lot of reasons. I won't go on into detail about that guy right now. But yeah.
All right. So what do we have next? We have the Colorado Buffaloes. This is the team everybody's talking about. This is Brian's team. Brian's a Buffs fan now. He's not really a Buffs fan. He just likes good, exciting football. Now, Colorado intrigues me. Right now, they're still not recruiting in the top 50 for 2024, but where they're going to make their bread and butter is going to be the transfer portal. Yeah,
this is going to be interesting with their schedule coming up. Travis Hunter, they announced, is out for 3 weeks. That's going to be a significant blow going into the Pac-12 schedule.
Lacerated liver.
Oh my God. I can't even imagine. Like I feel like I have a lacerated liver on the weekend, so I don't know what it could feel like.
You sit in the 108. Now, as far as the Buffalo, as far as Colorado, they beat Colorado State 43-35 in 2 overtimes. They trailed most of the game. Shedeur Sanders was 38 for 47 for 348 yards with 4 touchdowns and 1 pick. And a lot of that, 100 of those yards came in garbage in the last 90 seconds of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When they drove 98 yards, they trailed most of that game. And if it wasn't for Fowler Nicolosi throwing 3 interceptions, they don't win that game.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm just saying.
Colorado State playing dirty and being dumbasses cost Colorado State that game.
Right. But also, like, you know what? Like, yeah, that linebacker didn't need to hit Travis Hunter like that. But Shedeur Sanders didn't need to poke that other Colorado State player in the eyes.
I laughed at that. I thought that was fucking hilarious. That was so
funny.
Dumb.
It is
that
what
was
it
so
is.
stupid. Like, what are you doing? Like,
you had
get a hold of yourself, man. And then when you get pissed, you poke somebody in the eyeball. You're like, really?
Was it Kirk Herbstreit that said the Colorado sidelines looks like the BET Awards because they had Lil Wayne doing the pregame introduction. They had 2 or 3 other rappers. You had Kawhi Leonard on the sidelines. Dwayne Wade was there. It was like Prime brings out the names, man, and it's good for college football, and it's temporary good for this program. This is not built to last.
Yes,
but who cares? Like, who cares, right?
They don't care.
They don't because care. Colorado's been so irrelevant for so long. Yeah. Dion brings the people that brought game day.
Yeah.
They brought game day back to Boulder.
Which is awesome.
It's awesome.
Dion sells. It doesn't matter where he goes, what he does in life, he sells.
He does. So. He absolutely does. But yeah. I think Colorado gets a dose of reality this week because they got to go to Eugene.
They do.
And it's I am going to go on the record here. It's going to be a bloodbath.
I will not comment at this time. I will comment in a little bit.
All right. So I think we've talked enough about Colorado. The Rock was in the locker room, Dougie. Yes. We have the Duke Blue Devils. The Blue Devils, they beat Northwestern. So it's like beating the smartest kid in the special ed class. They beat them 38-14. Riley Leonard had an okay game. They had 300 yards on the ground with 5 rushing touchdowns, but it's Northwestern.
Yeah, they're ACC play after. Well, they beat Clemson early on, but it's time. It's go time now.
It is. So it is. I don't know what they have this week. I didn't look at the Duke schedule, and it wasn't on the list of games that we have that you must watch. But it's going to get real from them because they got Florida State on the schedule in a few weeks too.
I think that's on the 30th. If I saw correctly, that it is a night game. It's a night game against Florida State. So
I won't be able to watch any of the Noles game this week, Luke, because iPhone 15 comes out on Friday, and I will be working 12-hour days all weekend. So if you or Brian, my new college football brethren, are watching the Knowles Clemson game, I would appreciate text message updates.
I will be working. I will be home in time for the Ducks game at
Okay.
2:30.
All right.
So,
Well, then I'm gonna have to. I'll get someone to send me text message updates because it's brutal. It is brutal. All right. What do we got next, Luke? Who comes in after Duke? We have the North Carolina Tar Heels. Why do I feel like they played the Gophers? I have notes in
did.
here. Yeah,
They
they
played
beat
Minnesota.
the Gophers 31-13. Drake May was 29 for 40 with 2 touchdowns and 2 picks. So he looked okay, but like you can't throw 2 picks against the Gophers.
He's starting to look better than he did at the beginning of the season.
Yes.
He's starting to look like the Drake May that is a Heisman candidate. He's looking like the guy that people think is a first-round pick in the NFL draft next year. He's just got to continue to get better and build off of each week. We'll see what happens.
Is Drake May the future Bears quarterback, or are we? There's a little shout out to Brian that suggested we have a little segment on the show like future Bears draft or future Bears quarterback segments. I think the Bears are probably have some North Carolina PTSD after Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah, is Drake May the Bears' future quarterback? That's probably who they would draft. My personal thought is he's going to suck in the NFL.
I think so too. Well, the Bears would absolutely get the number 1 pick.
Yep.
Try to Rick Hahn it and trade down, and then draft Drake May at 2 or 3, and absolutely just skip Caleb Williams. Like it's like I don't even want to talk about the Bears. All right, North Carolina. What do we got next? We have the Oklahoma Sooners. They won something like 55-7 against Tulsa. No, 66-17 against Tulsa. Dylan Gabriel, 421 yards, 5 touchdowns. It's Tulsa. Like like it is what it is, right? But I don't really have anything to say about Oklahoma. Shankster, if you're watching, I'm sorry. He's a big Boomer Sooner fan.
That's right.
Ole Miss. We have Ole Miss. Ole Miss. They did. I don't have any notes for Ole Miss. I'm sorry.
I don't know that they had a big game this week. It was a game the week before against Tulane that they. Yeah. Oh, they played Georgia Tech this week, and they were like something like 17-point favorites against Georgia Tech, who I thought would give them a little bit of a tough run, and they handled them pretty well also. So Ole Miss the last couple weeks have had impressive wins against teams. I mean, Georgia Tech still is on the upswing. They have a lot of problems as a program that's trying to rebuild.
Yeah.
Tulane was without their starting quarterback, Michael Pratt, who, if Michael Pratt is healthy, he's a Heisman contender as well. Like that's a guy that people got to watch more game film on, is Michael Pratt when he's healthy and playing for Tulane. But he's missed the last 2 weeks. He was out against Ole Miss, which was a significant difference in that game. And Ole Miss was able to pour it on in the fourth quarter a couple of weeks ago.
How do you feel about Ole Miss? Like as a team, like personally, how do you feel about Ole Miss?
I love Lane Kiffin, the coach, because I think he's hilarious and entertaining.
I think Lane Kiffin is hilarious. I think he's a fucking douche nozzle.
I got some Lane Kiffin thoughts when we preview next week, because he's already cracking me up this week.
All right.
I think he's very entertaining. He's funny. There's some rumors he was going to be the next Oregon head coach for a while, and he put in some troll jobs on Twitter with that too, and it was incredible.
Everywhere he goes, it just like he sets that place like on fire. Like it's always worse than the way he left it.
He's doing okay at Ole Miss. He just has to get over the hump.
We'll see.
So.
Oregon State, your boy, he had an okay game. 14 for 30, 284 yards, 1 touchdown, but 2 picks. I mean, they still got the W over San Diego State, but man,
San Diego State's bad.
They're bad. They're bad. I mean, I guess in hindsight, that's not a great game.
I'm waiting for Oregon State to have a real test and have to rush any judgment on that. And that's coming. So
Alabama had a shit show of a game. They beat USF 17-3. They ran 2 quarterbacks, and both of them were the second string and the third stringer because they benched Milroy. Ty Simpson was 5 for 9 with 73 yards, and Tyler Buckner was 5 for 14 with 34 yards. And they fell out of the top 10 for the first time in, what was it, Luke? 10 years?
Has it been 10 years since they've been out of the top 10?
Out of the top 10. They are now the 12th team in the country.
They're going to be unranked by the end of the season.
It's going to get bad, and I think I might be partially right on my prediction. Well, I'm going to be partially right on my prediction because Alabama's not making the playoff.
Yep.
But I think this is going to be Nick Saban's last stand.
I mean, they went through those two starting quarterbacks, and then they went and announced today that Jalen Milroe is now back again being the starter this week against Ole Miss.
Dougie said, "I'd love to see Bama unranked. It just moved."
There's some trouble in Tuscaloosa.
There absolutely is.
There's something going on.
There is something going on, but let's look at the recruiting ranks. Right now, they are the 4th ranked class in the country. And Nick Saban, if he sticks around, is going to have a push to get that team above the 2nd and the 3rd spot, right behind Georgia.
I think
they have 2 5-star, 12 4-stars, 6 3-stars, and that will go up. That will go up because you're going to have teams that lose commits. Like, look at this. Who do you think the number 5 team is, sandwiched between Alabama and Florida State in the recruiting rankings right now?
Between Alabama and Florida State in the rankings?
In the recruiting rankings right now.
I don't know.
It's Texas A&M.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
They're going to lose some commits.
Yep.
Jimbo's a recruiter, but they're going to lose some commits.
Yep.
Tennessee is going to lose some commits.
I think the problem with Alabama is not the recruiting. That's always going to be there. They're always going to be up in the top 5 in the recruiting rankings. I think the problem for Alabama is their new offensive coordinator hire is a flop. I think Tommy Rees does not have what it takes to be an SEC offensive coordinator. He was able to get away with it at Notre Dame, and now he is in over his head at Alabama and into the SEC.
Maybe. I don't know. I think maybe you just don't have a quarterback, dude. Like, you got to have a quarterback to win in the SEC. And if you don't have good quarterback play, it's going to hurt. So if they get another quarterback in there, I mean, I don't know. You could be right. Like Sam Hartman looks legit at Notre Dame with a new OC. But we got Baloney in the chat. Sorry I'm late. Did you guys talk about my Buffaloes yet? Yeah, we did a little bit. Sorry, Baloney.
We'll talk about them later.
We'll talk about them a little bit later. We're trying to get done here before 9 o'clock because we have some friends that like to go on at 9 o'clock. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they're called the Chicago Sports Bums. So we're trying to finish up under 9 and be your pregame to the Bums, the foreplay to the Chicago Sports Bums.
Wait, can we pause for a second on these rankings? Alabama was ranked 11th, you said?
I think it was 12th, 11th or 12th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hang on just 1 second. This thought just popped in my head. I didn't even fucking realize this. Missouri beat Kansas State. They're 3-0, and they're not ranked?
Alabama's 13th.
Okay,
13th.
but where's Missouri?
Yeah, no, Missouri did not get a rank. They got a vote. They got some votes, but they did not get in the top 25. Clemson received 76 votes, Missouri 72. So they're right on the outskirts of being top 25, which is fucking goofy because Florida's 2-1. Like, I don't know. We might, you know what?
I've got beef with that.
Next week, let's go coaches poll.
Okay, I got beef with that then.
Okay,
yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. All right, so Bama's in trouble. No quarterback play. The LSU Tigers. The Tigers beat Mississippi State 41-14. Jaden Daniels looked legit. 30 for 34, 361 yards, passing, two passing touchdowns, and then 15 carries for 70 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. So he counted for 4 touchdowns over Mississippi State, right? And Mississippi State might not be great, but they are an SEC team.
You got to beat the shit out of the SEC teams on your schedule, especially after especially after their week 1 loss. They've got to beat the shit out of a Mississippi State team like that.
Yep. Absolutely.
So,
And like the more LSU wins, the better that win looks for Florida State.
yes.
So LSU beat up on a SEC opponent. We have the Utah Utes.
Utes.
Utah 31-7 win over Weber State. Nate Johnson 13 for 21 for 193 yards. And also 70 yards on the ground with a rushing touchdown. So dual threat quarterback in Salt Lake City doing his thing. I like that team, man. I think that team with the right facilities and an influx of cash could be big.
So Cam Rising still not playing? Is that right? This team's only going to get better when he's healthy, man.
It's only going to get better.
Then they're going to have. Then they might have the situation where it's if you have two quarterbacks and you don't have one problem because,
right?
I mean, man,
I need Baloney or Brian to jump ship from the Colorado bandwagon onto the Utah bandwagon. I know it's not flashy and I know it's not sexy and it's not prime time, but this program is built to last.
They'll probably beat Colorado this year.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
I don't even know if they're on the schedule, but I'm just going to say that. So,
but they could beat Colorado if they played. Whether it was in Boulder, whether it was in Salt Lake City, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
All right. What do we got next, Luke? We have the Ducks. Luke, do you want to take this away and lead out with this?
55-10 final over Hawaii. You have to do that against a bad Hawaii team. You got to run up the score. You can't keep it close. You can't put any second thoughts or questions in there. They pulled their starters late into the the third quarter there in the second half. They were up like 41-0 or something like that at halftime.
And Bo Nix still, they pulled him at the end of the half, still 21 for 27 with 250 yards and 3 passing touchdowns. So
and they've got weapons at wide receiver. They've got weapons at running back. They've got depth at both those positions.
I need to address this comment in the chat, Luke. There's too many Mormons in Utah. Luke, Dougie, don't you want another wife? Right? Polygamy's hot, man. My wife watches Sister Wives all the time. I'm just saying.
Anyways,
Sko Ducks. There you go, Luke.
Sko Ducks. I'm excited for Saturday. Keep the offensive line healthy. Let that defensive line keep growing as a unit and getting better and better. There's a lot of upside here. I'll see everybody on Saturday.
So I'm not gonna get into a prediction for next week till we get to our must-watch games. Okay.
That's right.
So let's move on. Notre Dame. Notre Dame also had another sister of the poor. They beat Central Michigan 41-17. Sam Hartman looked good. He continues to look good. 16 for 26 with 330 yards and 3 touchdowns. But they don't play anybody, Luke.
Yeah, but they will starting this week. Their schedule is about to get real.
Don't spoil it yet because we're going to talk about that in our final segment.
That's right. That's my thoughts. That's my thoughts on that one.
Are you crazy, man? One wife is enough. Like quarterbacks. If you have 2 wives, you have none. The first one cost me too much already. Can't afford another. Dougie, I'm with you. I also hate Notre Dame. There's 2 types of people in this world. Those that love Notre Dame and those that hate Notre Dame. My ex-wife loved Notre Dame. I'm just kidding. I've only been married once. That's a line from a movie that I love called What About Bob? Let's see. What do we got next, Luke? We have the Washington Huskies who absolutely pistol whipped the Michigan State Spartans. Michael Penix Jr. continues to look like the real deal. 27 for 35 with 4 touchdowns. They beat them 41-7, and Michigan State didn't score that touchdown till the final minute of the game.
Yeah, they're a total team right now. They're firing on all cylinders.
All cylinders. UW, go Huskies. Arr.
No. They're firing on all cylinders right now.
Luke, I don't have a team in the Pac-12.
I know you don't.
I don't. I don't dislike Oregon. I don't dislike Washington. I don't dislike USC. I don't hate a team in the Pac-12. So my loyalty can be bought, Luke.
No, you could decide your own fandom for yourself, however you want. I don't sell things.
Hey, I'll be an Oregon fan if you got a good 4-pack of Pipeworks for me.
That's right. The product on the field will sell itself when you watch the games. All
right, I got you. So Yeah, what do we got after? We have Penn State.
Yes.
Penn State 31-10 over U of I. Penn State did not score a single offensive touchdown. I'm almost positive.
That can't be right.
I'm almost positive U of I had 5 turnovers that all led to scores.
Yeah, but the offense scored some points off of the turnovers.
I don't know. Let me look. I could be wrong. Let me look.
That can't be. That cannot.
I mean, U of I looked like fucking ass. I'm sorry.
U of I is not good. U of I is not good.
They looked like cheeks, bro.
I thought that was a game that could have tripped up Penn State, like looking ahead to Iowa this week and being on the road. And the last time they went to Champaign, the game went to 9 overtimes and they lost.
No, I'm wrong. They still had 5 turnovers, but I was wrong about that one.
But still,
5 turnovers.
This is when Drew Aller and this team will really be getting tested starting next week. So,
and Aller, he had a nice chill day, man. 16 for 33, 208 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, but like a chill day. The defense did all the work.
They're being smart with Drew Aller and they're easing him into his first year. When you have the best 2-headed running back monster in the country, and you have one of the best offensive lines in the country, and you have a 5-star redshirt freshman quarterback, you don't need to put too much pressure on that redshirt freshman quarterback when you have all the other tools.
Manager. He needs to be a game manager.
Yeah, and he's learning that in these first few games. And now comes a real test. So,
absolutely. All right, Luke, you know who's next? Your boys. Your boys are next. The Ohio State Buckeyes. The Buckeyes beat up Western Kentucky, the Hilltoppers, 63-10. Kyle McCord, 19 for 23, 318 yards, 3 touchdowns. Marvin Harrison, 5 receptions for 126 yards. And they might have the game of the week up next week.
They do have the game of the week. They do have the game of the week. I haven't seen anything to see that this is a team that should be ranked this high yet. They have the best wide receiver in the country.
Luke,
I'm not sold. I'm not sold. They're not.
Your bias is showing.
No,
bias is showing.
What
hate
have they
Ohio
done?
State. You hate Ohio State. It's the same reason. It's the same reason that I did not give Miami any credit for their win over Bethune-Cookman.
What is Ohio
You don't like
State
them, and
done?
it's okay. It's okay.
But they haven't done anything to impress me. They
haven't played anybody yet.
They beat Western Kentucky. Who gives a fuck?
They're beating the shit out of the teams that they need to beat the shit out of.
They had a hard time in week 1 and week 2.
We'll know this week. We'll know this week if they're for real or not. If Ryan Day has got Kyle McCord ready to go.
Good luck. It's going to be tough. In South Bend.
I mean, I get it, but like those guys recruit 5-star blue chip prospects every year. Their offense is going to be lethal. Marvin Harrison Jr. and who's their other wide receiver? What's his name? I forget his name off the top of my head.
Yeah, I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Hold on, I got you right here. Give me 2 seconds. Emeka Ibuka.
Yeah, whatever. Like
he's a stud, dude. They recruit studs.
Yeah, because it's Ohio State. You get a natural draw for being the big name Ohio State. But I don't think Ryan Day has what it takes to win these big games anymore. I don't.
We'll see. I'm hoping Ohio State pulls out a massive W over Notre Dame this week.
Okay.
Massive W.
I'll talk about that in the preview.
All right, what do we have next? The USC Trojans. Did USC have a bye week this week?
They had a bye week, so they
USC
did
had a
nothing.
bye week, so they did nothing, but they stay where they're ranked. So like
Caleb
Williams, he's good. He's the real deal. With Florida State fell 1 spot in the rankings to number 4, even though they beat an ACC opponent. I don't know if I understand the falling the 1 spot because you won a conference game, but I'll just go fuck myself. I don't know. I'm like,
there's been some weird things going on with these rankings this week.
Fucking Georgia struggled against South Carolina all game. They won 24-14, still at number 1.
Who jumped ahead of them at 3?
Texas, who beat Wyoming. A non-conference opponent.
they struggled against Wyoming. Now, if Texas blew out Wyoming and Florida State struggled against Boston College, I could see that.
Well, like I don't know if Texas struggled. It was 31-10, but it was a Wyoming team.
They had a very difficult time in the first half getting going. Like they pulled away. I mean, but
it is what it is, right? We're still like if the season ended right now, we're still a playoff team.
Yeah.
But like there's no reason. Now the test is going to be this week. That's a big test. Luke, I need it. I need it.
Which Clemson team is going to show up?
Well, and which Florida State team shows up? Mike Norvell has these guys. Mike Norvell has these guys ready to play in primetime games. He always does. And I'm going to talk about this Florida State team here for a second, right? Because we were missing 3 starters from our defense, and our entire defense had the stomach flu and explosive diarrhea. That's not a joke. The entire defense had the stomach flu.
Yeah,
and they were up 31-10, and they just took their foot off the gas and they let BC back in the game. Now BC committed a lot of stupid penalties that gave that game away, but like Mike Norvell is going to have these guys ready to go against Clemson in Death Valley, and I say Florida State wins by a touchdown. Like it's not going to be a blowout, but it's going to be like Florida State's going to win by a touchdown.
I'll save my prediction.
And if Florida State goes into the bye week at 4-0, your boy Svo gets to drive into Tallahassee on October 7th with an undefeated Florida State team and hopefully a night game at Doak Campbell.
Okay.
And I'm going to act a fool, Luke. I am going to act a fool.
Who do they play that game?
It's Virginia Tech. It's a conference game.
Virginia Tech. Okay.
It's parents weekend. Tallahassee is going to be packed. I'm going to see my niece. I'm going to be with my brother. Like, I'm very, very excited. I need it, and I'm going to act. Cool. You may see, if this game's on ESPN, you may see a topless Svo in the stands at Doak Campbell. I'm just saying.
You should do it. You should do that anyways, even if it's not on ESPN, and just get footage of it.
Footage of it, like Svo at topless. I think that we have a bounce back week. Keon Coleman's going to have a big game. He only got 3 targets last week, but Johnny Wilson for us, 4 receptions for 105 yards. Jordan Travis still 15 for 24 for 215 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like they're going to be okay. Yeah.
And he wasn't even in the game. He left with an injury for a while.
He left with an injury for the first part of the second quarter. Yeah. That brings. We already kind of talked about Texas. They beat Wyoming 41-10 or 31-10 over Wyoming. Yep. Quinn Ewers 11 for 21 with 131 yards. Their running back had 21 carries for 164 yards. Jonathan Brooks, he's a pretty good running back. They got
something going there.
They produce a lot of good running backs.
Yeah.
The best running back in the NFL right now through 2 weeks is Bijan Robinson.
Yeah.
And it's good. Like they produce good running backs. So we'll see. We have Michigan. Luke, I know you're a big Michigan guy. 31-6 over Bowling Green. It's like beating Western Kentucky. Come on, man.
Yeah, but guess who's back? Back again.
Oh, Jim Harbaugh.
Harbaugh's back. Tell a friend. That's right.
I was not expecting a Brewhead Luke Eminem performance.
Hell yeah!
On episode Harbaugh, 3 from Eugene and Tallahassee.
The crazy motherfucker himself is going to be back on the sidelines, and that's already entertainment 101 when he's on the sidelines because he's a maniac. He's an absolute maniac, and his team, those players absolutely love him. Say what you want about him, but the people that play for him,
Jim Harbaugh.
Oh, he's a
Jim Harbaugh. He's a scumbag. And this goes even deeper, Luke. He's my least favorite ex-Bears quarterback of all time.
Okay, so that's a little bit deeper. Indeed.
The hatred is personal with Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, but there's stories. I've heard several stories about him as a college football coach, specifically with his ego. But you throw all that to the side, and you just talked about him as a coach with his relationship with his players, and you will not hear nicer things about the guy. Outside of that, he's a maniac, and I love it. I love watching him on the sideline coaching. I love seeing him in his pre and post game conferences. He's entertaining.
Oh, I don't know if anybody's paying attention to Monday Night Football, but it looks like Nick Chubb broke his leg on a brutal hit. There's absolutely no way he plays for the rest of the year.
Oh boy.
Do not watch the video on Twitter if you have a weak stomach. It is Joe Theismann level of bad.
Oh boy. Okay, I won't watch it.
All right, that brings us to the incumbent number one. Number one, how many weeks in a row now? But Georgia.
Yep.
Georgia struggled this week against South Carolina. They won 24-14 over South Carolina. I don't know. I think anybody can win the national championship this year, Luke.
The more and more I watch every college football game that I've seen, and the way I saw specifically this week with the number of ranked versus unranked matchups and how close a lot of them were, I think there was a little bit of the trap game factor involved with it, but also it shows that all of these teams are vulnerable. Like anybody, like this is the most unpredictable college football season that I can ever remember. And it is the best thing for the sport of college football because it's going to draw more fans in. If there's more upsets, there's more crazy, unpredictable games, people are going to be tuned in. Because what does a casual fan love? They love the upset. They
absolutely love the underdog.
They love the underdog. So this is good for the sport to have this much parity. We'll see how it plays out. Georgia's number one until they're not. That's how it's going to be.
I agree with you completely. Well, that's our AP top 25. We need to talk about our games of the week now. I got a couple notes here, Luke. Tell me when you think I'm wrong. All right. Okay. So the first big game I got, we're going to go in order of like important to whatever. I got Ole Miss, Alabama, and Tuscaloosa.
Okay.
I have UCLA, Utah, in Salt Lake City.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I have Notre Dame, Ohio State. We talked about it already.
Yes.
I have Oregon, Colorado in Eugene.
That's a big one. That's a fun one.
And I got Florida State, Clemson in Death Valley.
Okay.
Like those are the must-watch college football games of the week.
So was that you missed one. You missed one.
What do you got?
Big one. You got Penn State at Iowa.
I don't know if it's big.
It's two ranked opponents. Two ranked opponents, Big Ten play.
That's probably going to be the most boring football game ever. But yes, you have two Big Ten opponents playing each other.
That is Penn State's first true test in a Big Ten on the road in Iowa City at night. That's going to be a very, very challenging atmosphere for Drew Aller.
A true freshman quarterback going into a team that's known to have a legit defense.
Pink locker room alert. Watch out.
They're notorious for it. I love it. I think all those games can be legit, right? We have a bunch of good stuff on the calendar. I think if you're a casual football watcher, you definitely tune into Oregon, Colorado. What does that start at 3?
2:30 on ABC.
Notre Dame, Ohio State's going to bring in a lot of Midwestern viewers, but watch two talented teams in FSU and Clemson play. Like, you will not be disappointed. And then you have Ole Miss and Alabama if you like SEC football. I think those are games that you must watch.
Yeah, they're all very good games. I got a couple thoughts on each one of those games. So
let's hear them, Luke. Take it away.
Ole Miss and Alabama. Lane Kiffin made some comments last night or this morning about like, oh yeah, we know who Alabama, like this is a Cliff Notes version of it. I don't have the true quote, but he basically said, yeah, we know who Alabama's defensive coordinator is, but we know who's really calling the plays on defense. And it's not that guy because I coached with this guy. I don't know if he's trying to play mind games or if they truly believe that that's who's calling the defensive shots for Alabama. And he says that they are preparing for a Alabama defense that is coached and led by another assistant coach that is not the current defensive coordinator for Alabama. So very intriguing. Lane Kiffin does it again with the quotes. I'm excited for that game. Each year, this game is very hyped up. Not it shouldn't be hyped up because it's a ex-Saban coach facing him. I think that narrative is really stupid because, oh, look at Nick Saban's record against his former coaches. Look at Nick Saban's record in general. That's a fucking terrible narrative. Like, he beats every coach in the history of the world. Like, don't put his record against former coaches thing on. That's a really dumb narrative. Like,
that's a stupid narrative.
Yeah. I think he's getting closer to getting over the hump. The spread even would agree with me there at Alabama -7. I think the SEC opener, Nick Saban's not going to lose the SEC opener.
There's
right?
no way. There's no way.
I mean,
so are you locking in Alabama here?
I'm locking in Alabama to win. I think Ole Miss can cover the spread at 7.
You got one of your locks this week is Alabama money line over Ole Miss.
They're going to win. Alabama's going to win. Yeah.
All right.
I think Ole Miss will cover that spread at 7.
What do you got on the next game, Luke? We got UCLA, Utah in Salt Lake City.
Okay. Utah's going to win this by 1 million.
Okay, I agree.
Utah's going to win by 1 million. UCLA hasn't really played anybody on their schedule yet. Part of the reason why I think they're ranked is to hype up this matchup a little bit more. You don't go into Utah with a true freshman quarterback and think you're going to win this game. There's no way.
In a snuggy hill.
That Utah defense is going to absolutely annihilate Dante Moore. I don't know what the total is on this game, but between Utah defense,
4.5.
Okay, so it's Utah -4.5. I would take Utah easily. What's the over under? What's the total? You got that in front of you at all?
I don't have that handy. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm leaning towards the under with that one. Because Chip Kelly seems to be running the ball a lot, and Utah's defense is very, very
good. A lot of clock. Yeah.
So I got to look at that number, and I got to think about that one a little more. But I think Utah's going to win this big. Utah wins big.
All right. So you have Utah lock to win. Notre Dame, Ohio State. Let's hear it, Luke. You were waiting for this.
Notre Dame has the better offense, the better quarterback. Ohio State's defense is very questionable. Notre Dame wins this game at home as a home dog under the lights in prime time. They get it done.
I'm going to say, and I might end up on freezing cold takes, I'm going to say Marvin Harrison Jr. goes off along with Kyle McCord. And Ohio State wins it, narrowly by a field goal.
Oh, and this is the game we're doing a playback for. You won't be there. Brian and I will do the playback.
All right.
But if you're able to jump on at any random point,
I may hop on for some Pac-12 after dark, maybe after the game.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, that.
Yump joined us. Hey, Yump, what's up, buddy? I also hope Notre Dame loses. Go Buckeyes.
I hate both of those teams for the record, but I'm going to pick the lesser of the two evils. And
how is Notre Dame the lesser of the two evils?
I hate them. I hate them less than Ohio State. I hate them less than Ohio State. Ohio State is a top 3 hated sports team in my mind.
All right. What do you got for? You know what? I'm going to let you take it home with Oregon, Colorado. So give me your thoughts on FSU, Clemson in Death Valley.
Okay, FSU, Clemson. I think Clemson wins this on a field goal at the end.
You fucking asshole!
I think it's gonna.
Figure.
I think it's gonna come down.
Give me a breakdown.
Clemson at home with a few weeks to clean things up against Florida State. I think that Duke game showed how flawed Clemson's defense is, and they're going to have a hard time against Jordan Travis and this Florida State offense. I just think Clemson has enough now, 3 weeks later, how hard it is to win in Death Valley. You can't.
It's not easy to win in Death Valley, but I think after a shitty game against Boston College,
yep,
and Mike Norvell is going to have these boys up. I wish it was a 7:00 start.
Yes.
I wish it was a 7:00 start, but Mike Norvell is going to have these boys up, and Florida State wins it by a touchdown. And I know I have some bias, but Jordan Travis is legit. They're gonna run that counter, and I don't know if Clemson can stop it.
I will say this: it's a huge advantage for Florida State with this being an 11:00 game as opposed to a night game because Death Valley under the lights for a visiting
Howard's
team.
Rock, it's insane.
Day game Death Valley over night game Death Valley, huge difference.
I think Florida State stays undefeated. This is a big. Also, there's a chip on their shoulder, man. They haven't beat Clemson since 2014.
Yeah, this would be the the LSU one was big, but this is a bigger win for Mike Norvell.
This is a big Mike Norvell win right here.
Like-
Like both of the two LSU games were big W's, but
Yep.
this is a big conference win against, like, I feel about Miami and you know how I feel about Florida, but Clemson is Florida State's biggest rival.
Yes, that's
He gets this W and it cements him. I'm going Florida State by a touchdown.
okay. I'm going to stick to my guns. I think it's going to come down to a game-winning field goal or Clemson wins in overtime.
Go fucking Buffaloes. Let's go Buffaloes, you fucking piece of
I'm
shit.
being honest. I'm making my
I'm
predictions.
just
It's not
I'm
personal.
just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you can root for Colorado. I'm the only Oregon Ducks fan I know at this point. Like everybody's
All right,
a fucking Colorado
bring it home,
fan.
Luke. Bring it home, Luke, before we lead into our boys in the Chicago sports bums. Talk about Oregon, Colorado.
So Colorado's got to go to Autzen Stadium. It's a 2:30 start. They're doing a stripe out, meaning every other section is going to be gold and then green, then gold, then green. The fans are the loudest fans in the stadium. Colorado will have never seen this atmosphere yet. You don't get to see this shit at Jackson State here, Shedeur Sanders. Travis Hunter's out. I wish he was playing so they could take down Colorado at full strength. I don't know
they
what
can't use that. They can't use the asterisk. Oh, we didn't have Travis Hunter.
I don't know what the final score is going to be. I'm not going to predict the final score. We know how this game's going to go. Let's go Ducks. Sko.
I agree. Like, I think Oregon blows this team out of the water. I think Colorado's going to start to come down a little bit here in terms of reality, right? We talked about it for a while. Let me take a look at
-21.
So it's -21, but you have Oregon on Saturday. The following Saturday, you have USC, right?
Still without Travis Hunter.
Still without Travis Hunter. And then you have Arizona State, right?
Yep.
And then Stanford, UCLA.
Stanford's a win. UCLA, we'll see. I'm not going to predict that far ahead for Colorado yet. That's going to be a hard game.
Oregon State, Arizona, Washington State, and Utah. Like, they're going to start to come down a little bit here.
Yep.
I'm here for it.
I'm excited for Saturday at 2:30. And it may not start out well. Oregon might start out slow. They might be down 7-0 or 10-0 early. They kind of have a tendency to do that from time to time historically. If they're down 7-0 or 10-0 and the Colorado fans are going all crazy, I'll just sit back and I'll keep all the receipts. I'll keep every single receipt. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. I like it. Well, Luke, that brings us to a close of our Week 3 episode, Eugene and Tallahassee. Luke, you want to plug anything?
Tune into our playback on Saturday night for Notre Dame versus Ohio State, two teams that I hate, but one team I have to pick to win because of my prediction. I might be the only Notre Dame fan on the playback. I don't know. Like, I'm not even a Notre Dame fan, but now I want them to win because I fucking hate Ohio State that much. So, and I really like Sam Hartman. I like Sam Hartman a lot.
I don't dislike Sam Hartman. I wish he would have went anywhere else but Notre Dame.
Okay, that's fair.
I wish he would have went anywhere else but Notre Dame. The sole reason I became a Noles fan is because I fucking hate Notre Dame. And that 93 game, undefeated Florida State, undefeated Notre Dame, like the Notre Dame meatheads. Oh yeah, legacy. Yep. Like, fuck that. Fuck Notre Dame. So yeah, you have playback Saturday night, Ohio State, Notre Dame, with our boy Brian, Magnificent Stan, and Brewhand Luke. Anything else you want to plug, Luke?
I haven't written a beer blog on the 108 in a while. I should probably get back on that soon. Read my old ones.
You can see Luke's articles on the 108 website. Follow the section from the 108. Those guys are awesome. We love them. I am Svo. I am one half of the duo Yumper and Svo at the show. My two loves in this world are movies and college football. So I get to do this with my buddy Luke, who also loves college football as much as I do. And I get to talk movies with Yump, who loves movies as much as I do. And Yump's not like a movie snob. So I really, really love like talking movies with Yump because he's not a movie snob. Yump has 31 days of horror movies starting October 1st. And our next episode is next Sunday night at 8 o'clock with Chirizi and Beeflo from the 108, where we're going to be talking about our favorite gambling movies. So I might actually have to turn off one of these Monday Night Football games or have it on the iPad while I get caught up on some of those gambling movies. Other than that, you can catch Luke and I next week on episode 4 of From Eugene to Tallahassee, where we talk college football. And hopefully we have an undefeated Oregon and an undefeated Florida State going into week 5. Sco Ducks and hashtag Knowles.
right.
We appreciate you guys, and we will see you next week. Stay tuned to your YouTube for our buddies in the Chicago Sports Bums.
That's right. Tune into the Bumcast.
We love the Bumcast. Deuces, guys.
Later.